Most people quit right before their breakthrough. But you're not most people. Inside you refuses to die quietly. This moment you're in, it's not the end. It's the test. The difference between giving up and going all in. Between regret and legacy. If you can endure what others escape, you'll unlock a power most never touch. So ask yourself, will you surrender to pressure or rise and prove that your dream is worth everything you've got? In just a few moments, you'll discover the mindset shift that pulls you out of the storm, right when you feel like quitting. The voice of resilience. There will be days when everything inside you screams, give up. That voice will sound convincing, familiar, even rational. But it is not the voice of truth. It is the echo of fear, the ghost of your former self clinging to comfort. You weren't born to shrink in hard times. You were made to rise in them. The battle you're in is shaping your destiny. Without resistance, there's no growth. You must train your mind to see pressure not as punishment, but as preparation. The only way forward is through. You go on when others stop. You push when others pause. That's the difference between mediocrity and mastery. It's the price every champion has paid. George Washington faced betrayal and brutal winters, yet he marched on. Thomas Edison faced 10,000 failures, but lit up the world. Their struggles weren't separate from their success. They were the foundation. What about you? What future are you fighting for? What legacy will you write with your perseverance? Your current challenge isn't just an obstacle, it's defining the story of who you become. When the weight feels unbearable, remind yourself, quitting doesn't ease the burden, it multiplies regret. The temporary relief of surrender is quickly replaced by the permanent ache of, what if? That is a heavier load than any struggle. The human spirit is remarkably resilient. You've survived storms before. You've been knocked down and risen again. You've faced impossible odds and found a way. You will outlast this one too. Remember that discomfort is the price of transformation. The butterfly must struggle against the cocoon to strengthen its wings. Without that resistance, it would never fly. Your challenges serve the same purpose. They're building your capacity for flight. In your darkest moments, listen beyond the voice of doubt. Beneath it lies a deeper truth. You possess untapped reservoirs of strength. Each time you choose perseverance over surrender, you access more of this power. The world rewards those who persist. History remembers those who refuse to break. Your greatest contributions will come not from moments of ease, but from seasons of endurance. Stand firm when everything within you trembles. Move forward when retreat seems logical. Speak courage to yourself when fear shouts loudest. This is how legends are born, not in comfort, but in conquest. Your resilience isn't just about surviving today's battle. It's about inspiring others who will face similar struggles tomorrow. Your example becomes a beacon that guides others through their storms. The path ahead isn't easy, but nothing worthwhile ever is. Keep going. The victory isn't just reaching your destination. It's becoming the person strong enough to arrive there. The unyielding path, success, does not come to those who merely wish for it. It comes to those who are willing to endure discomfort, to persist when the emotions say stop, and to stand firm when the path is unclear. The most dangerous moment is not when everything falls apart, but when your belief in yourself begins to crumble. That's when you must decide, will you be ruled by feelings or fueled by faith? True progress is born in silence, in those quiet moments when no one is watching and you choose to take one more step. That one step, repeated with discipline, becomes a habit. That habit becomes a lifestyle, and that lifestyle shapes your destiny. Abraham Lincoln, who faced political defeat after defeat, family tragedy, and deep depression, yet he still led a nation through its darkest hour. He wasn't lucky, he was relentless. Can you be? Your potential is not buried in your past, it is ignited by your persistence. The question isn't, can you succeed? The real question is, will you keep going long enough to find out? Every moment you persist, you move 1 inch closer to the life you were meant for. The world is filled with talented individuals who never reached their potential because they surrendered too soon. Talent without tenacity is like an unlit match, full of possibility but lacking the friction needed for fire. That friction comes from pushing against resistance, from choosing advancement over comfort. What separates the extraordinary from the ordinary isn't natural ability, it's supernatural resolve. It's the willingness to stand alone when necessary, to believe when evidence is scarce, and to continue when continuation seems foolish to others. Your greatest breakthroughs often wait just beyond your breaking point. This is why so few experience them. Most people retreat when the pressure intensifies, unaware that the pressure itself is transforming them into someone capable of bearing greater weight. Consider the diamond, formed over time under immense pressure, deep beneath the Earth's surface. No comfort, no shortcuts, no escape from the crushing weight above. Yet this pressure doesn't destroy the carbon, it transforms it into something of incomparable value and strength. Your struggles are not punishment, they are preparation. Your obstacles are not designed to block your path, they are positioned to elevate your perspective. What feels like resistance is often redirection towards something better than you had planned. The path to mastery in any field is marked by moments of doubt, periods of stagnation, and seasons of setback. These are not indications to abandon your journey, they are invitations to deeper commitment. The amateur quits when progress slows. The professional recognizes slow progress as the foundation for future breakthroughs. Your mindset determines whether difficulties diminish or develop you. When you view challenges as evidence of your inadequacy, you retreat. When you view them as opportunities for growth, you advance. Same circumstance, different interpretation, entirely different outcome. Remember that persistence is not merely about enduring. It's about enduring with purpose, with vision, with the unshakable conviction that your efforts matter. It's about honoring your future self by refusing to surrender what you want most for what you want now. The world makes way for those who refuse to be denied their destiny, not because the world is kind, but because those who persist eventually become unstoppable. They develop a force of character that commands respect and clears paths where none existed before. Your journey may be longer and harder than you anticipated, but the person you become through that journey will be stronger and wiser than you could have imagined. And that person, that tested, proven version of yourself, is worth every step. The unyielding path. Success does not come to those who merely wish for it. It comes to those who are willing to endure discomfort, to persist when the emotions say stop, and to stand firm when the path is unclear. The most dangerous moment is not when everything falls apart, but when your belief in yourself begins to crumble. That's when you must decide, will you be ruled by feelings or fueled by faith? True progress is born in silence, in those quiet moments when no one is watching, and you choose to take one more step. That one step, repeated with discipline, becomes a habit. That habit becomes a lifestyle, and that lifestyle shapes your destiny. Abraham Lincoln, who faced political defeat after defeat, family tragedy and deep depression, yet he still led a nation through its darkest hour. He wasn't lucky. He was relentless. Can you be? Your potential is not buried in your past. It is ignited by your persistence. The question isn't, can you succeed? The real question is, will you keep going long enough to find out? Every moment you persist, you move 1 inch closer to the life you were meant for. The world is filled with talented individuals who never reached their potential because they surrendered too soon. Talent without tenacity is like an unlit match, full of possibility, but lacking the friction needed for fire. That friction comes from pushing against resistance, from choosing advancement over comfort. What separates the extraordinary from the ordinary isn't natural ability, it's supernatural resolve. It's the willingness to stand alone when necessary, to believe when evidence is scarce, and to continue when continuation seems foolish to others. Your greatest breakthroughs often wait just beyond your breaking point. This is why so few experience them. Most people retreat when the pressure intensifies, unaware that the pressure itself is transforming them into someone capable of bearing greater weight. Consider the diamond, formed over time under immense pressure, deep beneath the Earth's surface. No comfort, no shortcuts, no escape from the crushing weight above. Yet this pressure doesn't destroy the carbon, it transforms it into something of incomparable value and strength. Your struggles are not punishment, they are preparation. Your obstacles are not designed to block your path. They are positioned to elevate your perspective. What feels like resistance is often redirection towards something better than you had planned. The path to mastery in any field is marked by moments of doubt, periods of stagnation, and seasons of setback. These are not indications to abandon your journey. They are invitations to deeper commitment. The amateur quits when progress slows. The professional recognizes slow progress as the foundation for future breakthroughs. Your mindset determines whether difficulties diminish or develop you. When you view challenges as evidence of your inadequacy, you retreat. When you view them as opportunities for growth, you advance. Same circumstance, different interpretation, entirely different outcome. Remember that persistence is not merely about enduring. It's about enduring with purpose, with vision, with the unshakable conviction that your efforts matter. It's about honoring your future self by refusing to surrender what you want most for what you want now. The world makes way for those who refuse to be denied their destiny, not because the world is kind, but because those who persist eventually become unstoppable. They develop a force of character that commands respect and clears paths where none existed before. Your journey may be longer and harder than you anticipated, but the person you become through that journey will be stronger and wiser than you could have imagined. And that person, that tested, proven version of yourself, is worth every step. The sacred promise quitting is the easiest thing you'll ever do, but it costs the most. The cost is your dream, your confidence, your identity. Once you surrender to fear, it becomes easier the next time and harder to return. That's why people drift through life convinced that others are lucky, while they never realized that success was only one more try away. Don't fall into that trap. You weren't created to quit. You were created to conquer. You carry inside you the fire of every ancestor who refused to back down. Don't let comfort smother it. The truth is, growth and comfort cannot coexist. You will either rise or retreat. Winston Churchill, dismissed from school, scorned by peers and nearly destroyed by failure. Yet he spoke to a broken nation with unwavering courage. Never give in. And he didn't. Neither should you. When everything tells you it's over, that's the very moment your breakthrough is beginning to form. Dig in, breathe deep, and take the next step. Not because it's easy, but because you promised yourself you would. That promise is sacred. Keep it. The human spirit is designed to overcome, to adapt, to find a way where none seems possible. This resilience isn't reserved for a chosen few. It's your birthright. But like any inheritance, you must claim it. You must stand and declare that your story will not end in surrender. Your greatest opponent isn't external. It's the voice within that whispers convenient excuses, that manufactures plausible reasons to retreat. Silence that voice. Replace it with unwavering commitment to your highest vision. What separates history's giants from forgotten masses isn't talent or circumstance, it's tenacity. The willingness to face one more day, to withstand one more storm, to attempt one more solution when all previous attempts have failed. Pain is temporary. Regret is permanent. The discomfort of persisting pales in comparison to the agony of knowing you gave up on yourself. That's a wound that never fully heals. Remember that every master was once a disaster. Every expert was once a beginner. The only difference? They refused to let initial failure define their final outcome. They understood that falling isn't failing, quitting is. Your legacy is being written right now in how you respond to adversity. Will future generations speak of your courage or your capitulation? The choice is yours, made daily in moments when no one is watching but you. Stand firm, hold fast, press on. Not because victory is guaranteed, but because surrender guarantees defeat. You are more capable than you realize, more resilient than you believe, and closer to breakthrough than you can imagine. Keep your sacred promise to yourself, to your dream, to your destiny. The edge of greatness, every person you admire, every story of greatness you celebrate, began at the edge of despair. Victory does not come to the most talented, it comes to the most committed. The person who refuses to quit is more dangerous than the one who knows all the tricks. Your consistency will outlast talent. Your grit will outrun genius. Jack Dempsey, born poor, fought through hunger, slept in rail cars, worked in mines, and still rose to become the heavyweight champion of the world. How? He fought when he was tired. He trained when he was broke. He believed when no one else did. Can you? The question is not if the road is hard, it is. The question is whether you will keep walking anyway. You don't need perfection to win, you need persistence. Don't envy success, earn it, build it, fight for it. Every drop of sweat is a seed of future greatness. And when the voices whisper, "This is too much," you shout back, "I am more than enough." History doesn't remember the gifted who surrendered. It honors the determined who persevered. The landscape of achievement is littered with brilliant individuals who lacked staying power. Meanwhile, the seemingly ordinary who refused to yield have shaped our world through sheer force of will. Your darkest moments aren't signs to retreat. They're invitations to discover depths of strength you never knew existed. When you feel most like quitting, you stand at the threshold of transformation. One more step. One more day, one more attempt. This is where character is forged and destiny is shaped. What separates the champion from the challenger isn't raw ability, but resilience under pressure. Anyone can perform when conditions are ideal. The truly great rise precisely when circumstances are most hostile to their success. They've trained themselves to thrive where others merely survive. Consider how diamonds are formed, not in gentle environments, but under crushing pressure. The very force that threatens to destroy instead creates something of immeasurable worth. Your challenges aren't destroying you, they're developing you into something extraordinary. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a day and underestimate what they can achieve in a year of consistent effort. Small actions repeated with conviction accumulate into unstoppable momentum. This is the secret power of persistence. It compounds over time while talent alone diminishes. When you face rejection, remember that every no brings you one step closer to yes. When you encounter failure, recognize it as feedback, not finality. When exhaustion tempts you to surrender, understand that breakthroughs often arrive just beyond the breaking point. The path to mastery is never linear. It twists and turns through valleys of disappointment and plateaus of stagnation. These aren't detours from your journey, they are essential parts of it. Each obstacle encountered and overcome becomes a foundation stone in the monument of your achievement. Your resolve will be tested repeatedly. That's not a prediction, it's a promise. The universe seems designed to challenge those with the audacity to pursue greatness. But these tests aren't meant to defeat you. They're intended to reveal you, to strip away everything that isn't essential to your purpose. Don't be seduced by shortcuts or quick fixes. The most valuable accomplishments demand payment in persistence, patience, and unwavering determination. What comes easily often departs just as swiftly. What is earned through struggle becomes yours permanently. When others see impossible odds, train yourself to see unprecedented opportunity. When conventional wisdom counsels retreat, let your unconventional courage push forward. The extraordinary life belongs to those who refuse ordinary limitations. Your greatest power isn't talent, intelligence, or opportunity. It's the ability to continue when everything and everyone suggests you should stop. Harness this power, and nothing can stand in your way. The emerging champion there is a version of you that already knows how to overcome this. You just haven't met them yet. But you will, if you keep going. Inside every obstacle is a gift wrapped in resistance. Most people only see the pain, not the prize. But not you. You're different. You've decided that struggle is the path, not the enemy. You've decided that fear is not your master, it's your motivator. Imagine if Wilma Rudolph, told she'd never walk again, had listened. She didn't. She trained, believed, and became the fastest woman on earth. That's the power of not quitting. You may not see the reward today, but it's coming, brick by brick. Day by day, you are building something no one can take from you. Unshakable self-belief. So ask yourself, will I look back on this moment with pride or with regret? Only you decide. Stay in the fight. Your breakthrough is not behind you. It's one more day of effort ahead. The question is, will you meet it? The most powerful version of yourself exists on the other side of persistence. This is the self that has weathered storms, endured pain, faced rejection, and emerged stronger for it all. This future self isn't a fantasy. It's an inevitability if you refuse to surrender. What separates extraordinary achievements from abandoned dreams isn't circumstance or luck. It's the willingness to continue when continuation seems impossible. The universe tests your commitment through resistance. Each time you push through, you demonstrate your worthiness for the prize you seek. Consider how gold is refined through intense heat that burns away impurities. Without this process, it remains common, its true value hidden. Your challenges serve the same purpose. They aren't destroying your potential, they're revealing it, refining it, preparing it for greatness. Most people measure progress linearly, growing discouraged when advancement slows. But transformation often happens exponentially. Invisible accumulation followed by sudden breakthrough. The seeds you plant today in difficult soil will eventually burst forth with unexpected vigor. Your mind will convince you of limitations that don't exist. It will present fear as evidence, discomfort as danger, and temporary setback as permanent failure. This is not truth. It's survival instinct misapplied. Recognize these thoughts as outdated programming, not accurate assessment. The difference between those who achieve greatness and those who almost do is found in moments exactly like the one you face now. Moments when continuing makes no logical sense, when all external evidence suggests surrender. These pivotal decisions, made repeatedly in favor of persistence, ultimately determine your destiny. You already possess everything needed to triumph. It's not about acquiring more, it's about accessing what's already within you. The courage, resilience, and strength you seek aren't external resources to be gathered. They're internal capacities to be unleashed through continued action. What you're building through perseverance isn't just external achievement, it's internal architecture. You're constructing unshakable confidence that no future challenge can easily dismantle. This is the hidden benefit of difficulty. It develops in you capabilities that will serve every area of your life. Remember that history's most celebrated figures were not exempt from struggle. They were defined by their response to it. Their greatness wasn't bestowed. It was forged in crucibles similar to yours. They simply refused to let temporary pain deter them from permanent purpose. Your journey isn't about avoiding obstacles, but becoming the kind of person who transforms obstacles into opportunities. Not because it's easy, but because you've decided that growth matters more than comfort, that becoming matters more than avoiding. So stand firm when everything within you urges retreat. Move forward when logic dictates pause. Believe when evidence suggests doubt. This isn't foolishness. It's faith in the version of yourself that's waiting on the other side of persistence. Your breakthrough awaits, not as distant possibility, but imminent reality, if only you'll take one more step. The crucible of growth pain often pretends to be a signal to stop, but in truth, it's a signal to grow. The moment it hurts is the moment you begin to evolve. Many confuse discomfort with danger and run back to the familiar, but growth lives outside the familiar. It's in the struggle, the confusion, the moments you're unsure. That's where your real strength is tested. Nothing extraordinary is born in ease. What separates winners is that they don't panic in pressure. They trust it. They let it mold them. You begin by standing firm when everything in you wants to flee. You build endurance by not running from resistance, but running through it. You train your mind to hold faith longer than fear. Florence Nightingale revolutionized nursing, not in comfort, but in chaos. She walked into war zones and brought order where there was none. She had every reason to quit, but purpose overpowered panic. In yours, you must choose ease now or excellence later. You can't have both. Every ache in your soul is shaping something sacred. Don't run, rise. The human instinct is self-preservation, to retreat from pain, to avoid discomfort at all costs. But this instinct, while designed to protect, often prevents the very transformation your spirit craves. Your greatest evolution occurs precisely when you override this ancient programming and choose advancement over avoidance. What appears as hardship is often disguised opportunity. The resistance you feel when pushing beyond known limits isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. It reveals where strength must be built, where character must be forged, where wisdom must be earned. Without this resistance, potential remains dormant, untested, unrealized. Consider how muscles develop, not through ease, but through the deliberate application of stress. The microscopic tears that occur during exertion don't weaken the muscle. They signal the body to rebuild it stronger. Your challenges function identically, creating temporary wounds that heal into permanent power. Society celebrates achievement, but rarely acknowledges the painful process that precedes it. Behind every moment of triumph stands a mountain of discomfort willingly endured. The applause comes after the anguish. The recognition follows the rejection. The breakthrough emerges from the breakdown. Most people abandon their path precisely when transformation begins, when discomfort intensifies, when doubt surfaces, when progress seems impossible. They interpret these symptoms not as signs of imminent breakthrough, but as evidence of inevitable failure. This misinterpretation costs them everything. Your capacity to withstand pressure determines your capacity for greatness, not because suffering itself is virtuous, but because the willingness to endure it for worthy purposes is the foundation of all meaningful achievement. This is the price of admission to extraordinary living. Okay. When you feel most like surrendering, you stand at the threshold of something magnificent. The universe tests your resolve not to discourage you, but to prepare you. Each challenge you overcome increases your capacity to face greater ones, expanding not just your capabilities, but your vision of what's possible. True courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision that something matters more than fear. It's continuing when every emotion screams for retreat, when logic argues for abandonment, when others whisper that it can't be done. This isn't reckless, it's revolutionary. What feels unbearable today becomes merely uncomfortable tomorrow, and eventually transforms into your foundation of strength. This is how resilience is built, not through avoiding difficulty, but through moving through it with purpose and presence. You weren't designed for comfort, you were designed for growth. Your spirit thrives not in ease, but in worthy challenge. When you embrace this truth, pain loses its power to paralyze and instead becomes your partner in transformation. So stand in the fire, let it forge, not consume you. Trust the process that seems to be breaking you. It's actually making you. This isn't just endurance, it's evolution. Your greatest self awaits on the other side of this crucible, the battle within. The urge to quit often arrives dressed in logic. It whispers reasons, justifications, and clever excuses. But logic born in fear is never wisdom. It's a trap. When you feel yourself rationalizing why you should stop, that's when you must push, because breakthrough hides behind resistance. And most people never reach it because they listen to the wrong voice. You win by mastering your mental conversation. You speak truth louder than doubt. You must become your own encourager when no one claps. Discipline is not found in feelings, it's forged in decisions. You choose your identity by how you respond to difficulty. Theodore Roosevelt fought illness, loss, and betrayal. But his creed was the man in the arena, the one who dares greatly. He didn't live on the sidelines, and neither should you. Stop negotiating with fear. Stop justifying delay. Declare war on the excuses. The future you want is watching. Will you show up? The mind is both your greatest ally and your most formidable opponent. It generates the vision that inspires you and the doubt that paralyzes you. The battle for achievement isn't fought in the outside world first. It's won or lost in the private chambers of your thoughts. Your brain is masterful at self-preservation. It creates compelling narratives about why you should retreat, conserve energy, avoid risk. These stories sound reasonable, even wise. You've done enough. This isn't working. Others would understand if you stopped, but beneath these reasonable voices lies the ancient programming of survival, not thriving. What seems like rational thought is often fear in disguise. The voice that catalogs all possible failures isn't protecting you, it's imprisoning you. True wisdom acknowledges difficulty but moves forward despite it. False wisdom uses difficulty as justification for surrender. The greatest deception isn't that success is impossible. It's that quitting will somehow improve your situation. It rarely does. What follows abandonment of worthy goals isn't relief, but regret. Not peace, but persistent disappointment in yourself. Every significant achievement in human history was preceded by moments when continuation seemed foolish. The Wright brothers faced hundreds of failed attempts before flight. Edison encountered thousands of non-working designs before the light bulb. Their greatness wasn't in avoiding failure, but in refusing to accept it as final. You must learn to distinguish between productive discomfort and productive discomfort, the strain of growth, the uncertainty of new territory, the awkwardness of developing skill, always leads to expansion. This isn't the pain to avoid, it's the price to embrace. When the voice of surrender grows loudest, counterattack with questions. Who will I become if I quit now? What message will I send to myself about my capacity to endure? How will this decision shape my self-concept moving forward? These questions reframe the moment from temporary relief to permanent identity. Courage isn't a personality trait, it's a choice made repeatedly in moments of uncertainty. It's the decision to honor your highest ambitions rather than your immediate comfort. This choice, made consistently, transforms not just your circumstances but your character. The world is filled with brilliant, talented individuals who never realized their potential because they abandoned ship precisely when the winds of resistance grew strongest. Don't join their ranks. Understand that the storm isn't trying to stop you. It's trying to show you what you're made of. Your finest moments won't be when everything aligns perfectly. They'll be when nothing seemed aligned, when logic argued for retreat, when others couldn't understand your persistence and you continued anyway. These decisions determine your destiny. Remember that fear disguises itself as reason. It presents convincing evidence for surrender, compelling arguments for delay. Recognize these thoughts not as truth, but as tests, opportunities to demonstrate what matters most to you. The future belongs to those who refuse to negotiate with the voice of limitation. Stop asking if you can, declare that you will, stop wondering if it's possible. Make it inevitable through relentless action. Your breakthrough awaits, not for the fearless, but for the determined who act despite fear. The power of response. There's a space between what you feel and what you do, and that space determines everything. Most react. The few who lead respond. You can train that space. You can stretch it, strengthen it, take control of it. Emotions are not commands, they are cues. You decide how you use them. Mastering your emotions means refusing to let the moment dictate your movement. You pause, you reflect, then you act. Emotional discipline is the foundation of lasting greatness. It's what made Harriet Tubman a liberator. She didn't let fear paralyze her. She walked into danger again and again, not because she wasn't afraid, but because she knew what was at stake. She made the choice. You must make yours. The next time you feel like quitting, stop, breathe, ask, who do I want to become? Then move accordingly. Reaction is easy. Response is power. Build your power. This space, this sacred pause between stimulus and response is where your freedom lives. It's the difference between being driven by circumstance and directing your life with intention. The untrained mind reacts instantly, surrendering control to whatever emotion arises. The disciplined mind creates distance, observes the emotion, and chooses its action deliberately. Your feelings are powerful messengers, but dangerous masters. When fear appears, it delivers information, not instruction. When frustration surfaces, it highlights problems, not solutions. When doubt emerges, it raises questions, not answers. These emotions deserve acknowledgement, but not authority over your decisions. The ability to separate what you feel from what you do isn't passive resignation, it's active sovereignty. It's recognizing that while you cannot always control what happens to you, you retain absolute authority over how you respond. This distinction is the foundation of all personal power. Consider how water responds to obstacles. It doesn't fight or flee. It flows around, finding the path of least resistance without abandoning its essential nature or ultimate destination. This is emotional mastery, not the absence of feeling, but the presence of adaptability within feeling. Society often celebrates impulsivity as authenticity, reactivity as passion. But true authenticity comes from aligning your actions with your deepest values, not your fleeting emotions. True passion is sustained commitment to purpose despite emotional fluctuations. The greatest leaders in history weren't those who never felt fear, doubt, or discouragement. They were those who refused to let these emotions dictate their actions. They created space between impulse and action, between momentary feeling and meaningful choice. This practice begins small. When anger surfaces, you pause before speaking. When anxiety rises, you breathe before deciding. When desire tempts, you reflect before indulging. Each pause strengthens the muscle of self-governance, expanding your capacity for emotional leadership. Your nervous system responds to training. The more you practice creating space between stimulus and response, the more automatic this pause becomes. What once required immense effort gradually transforms into second nature, not because the emotions diminish, but because your mastery increases. In moments of highest pressure, this cultivated space becomes your greatest asset. While others are hijacked by reactivity, you maintain clarity. While others speak words they'll regret, you choose words that advance your purpose. While others make decisions they'll later reverse, you make choices aligned with your vision. This isn't just a skill for crisis. It's a way of living. It transforms how you respond to criticism, how you navigate conflict, how you approach challenges, and how you pursue opportunities. It ensures that your life's direction is determined not by the winds of circumstance, but by the steady hand of intention. The path to greatness isn't found in perfecting your circumstances, but in perfecting your responses to them. No achievement will matter if you remain a slave to emotional reactivity. No success will satisfy if you haven't mastered the space between feeling and action. Claim this space, expand it, inhabit it fully. Let it become the foundation of your power and the source of your freedom. In a world of reaction, choose response. In a culture of impulsivity, choose intention. In moments that invite surrender, choose sovereignty. The unseen breakthrough. When nothing works, that's when most walk away. But often, that's the exact moment when the shift is about to happen. The darkest hour comes before dawn, not after. If you quit now, you might be walking away from your harvest one day too soon. The soil must break before anything grows. Delay doesn't mean denial. It means preparation. Your trial is sharpening tools you'll need later. Success is not linear. It spirals, it stumbles, it disappears, only to reappear with greater power. Keep showing up, even when you don't feel it. Discipline must become your ritual. Every day you fight discouragement, you forge your destiny. Helen Keller. Born into silence and darkness, but her teacher believed, and through stubborn repetition, Helen unlocked a world of words. From nothing came everything. So don't measure your future by your frustration. Stay the course. It's working, even when it looks like it isn't. The moment of apparent failure often precedes the moment of extraordinary breakthrough. This pattern repeats throughout nature, history, and human achievement. The seed appears to rot before it sprouts. The butterfly must struggle against the cocoon to strengthen its wings. The darkness grows deepest just before light emerges. Most people abandon ship precisely when the winds of transformation begin to stir. They interpret the intensity of resistance not as the prelude to breakthrough, but as evidence of defeat. This misreading of the moment costs them everything they've worked toward. Progress rarely announces itself with immediate evidence. It works beneath the surface, invisible to observation, but powerful in its unseen development. Like the bamboo that grows underground for years before suddenly shooting skyward, your efforts accumulate silently until the moment of dramatic emergence. The greatest deception is believing that what you see now represents what will be. Your current results aren't final verdicts. They're temporary readings, snapshots of a process still unfolding. The full story of your journey cannot be judged by isolated moments of struggle. Consistency in apparent futility is the ultimate test of character. Anyone can persist when progress is visible, when validation comes regularly, when effort yields immediate reward. But continuing when feedback is absent, when results are delayed, when doubt creeps in, this separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. Your willingness to endure the desert determines whether you'll reach the promised land. Every significant achievement has its wasteland period, the stretch where indicators suggest abandonment is logical, where continuation requires faith beyond evidence. This is where most surrender, not realizing how close they stood to transformation. What feels like stagnation is often integration, your mind and body assimilating new information, skills, and capacity. The plateau that frustrates you is actually the foundation being strengthened for your next ascent. Without this consolidation phase, future growth would collapse under its own weight. The greatest leaders, innovators, and creators throughout history share one common trait. They continued when continuation made no logical sense. They held faith longer than doubt. They maintained vision beyond visible evidence. They acted as if breakthrough was inevitable, not just possible. Your persistence isn't just about achieving external goals. It's about becoming the kind of person who finishes what they start, who honors commitments to themselves, who refuses to be defined by temporary setbacks. This internal transformation is the true prize, more valuable than any external achievement. Remember that frustration is feedback, not failure. It reveals where adjustment is needed, where learning must deepen, where approach must evolve. Use it as information, not as judgment on your capability or the worthiness of your pursuit. The path to mastery is marked by moments of apparent standstill that suddenly give way to quantum leaps forward. Trust this process. Honor it. Continue showing up, especially when results seem distant or doubtful. The breakthrough you seek isn't behind you. It's one more day of faithful effort ahead. Your future self is watching, hoping you'll make the decision to continue. Don't disappoint them. Stay the course. The awakening of greatness, you are not separate from greatness. It lives in you, but like all treasures, it must be uncovered. Struggle is your shovel, consistency is your chisel, and belief is your light. If you don't dig, you won't find it. If you don't believe, you won't see it. Many look outward for validation, waiting for someone to confirm what they already know inside. But truth doesn't come from applause. It comes from action. If you want the world to respect you, show them your work. Be undeniable. Andrew Carnegie. An immigrant, a bobbin boy who rose to dominate steel, philanthropy, and legacy. He was not born rich. He was born willing. Willing to learn. Willing to persist. Willing to become. So must you be. You don't chase greatness. You build it. One disciplined day at a time, one step against the grain. The voice inside you already knows the way. Are you listening? Greatness isn't something foreign to your nature, it's the fullest expression of it. Like a sculptor who doesn't create the statue but reveals it from within the marble, your journey isn't about becoming something other than yourself. It's about removing everything that isn't your truest potential. The obstacles you face aren't barriers to your greatness. They're the necessary conditions for its emergence. Without resistance, there's no growth. Without challenge, there's no transformation. The very struggles that seem to block your path are actually forming it, creating the perfect conditions for your unique brilliance to manifest. Society has conditioned you to seek external validation before internal conviction. But this sequence is backward. The masters throughout history didn't wait for permission to be extraordinary. They demonstrated their excellence first, and the world's recognition followed. Their greatness preceded their fame, not the other way around. Your doubts aren't evidence of your limitations. They're simply thoughts passing through your consciousness like clouds across the sky. There is no substance unless you give them weight. Learn to observe them without attachment, to acknowledge their presence without accepting their verdict on your capabilities. What holds most people back isn't lack of talent, but lack of belief strong enough to overcome inertia. Belief isn't just positive thinking. It's the unshakable conviction that propels action when results are delayed, when critics are loud, when progress seems impossible. This isn't delusion, it's vision. Every significant human achievement began as an internal flame before becoming an external reality. The buildings that tower over cities, the technologies that transform lives, the art that moves souls, all existed first as belief in someone's mind before manifesting in the physical world. Your greatness follows the same pattern. The journey to uncovering your inherent greatness isn't about adding something new, it's about removing the accumulated layers of limitation, doubt, and false identity that obscure it. Every time you choose courage over comfort, discipline over distraction, purpose over popularity, you chip away at these layers. Consistency isn't glamorous, but it's transformative. The daily commitment to show up, to refine your craft, to face your fears, these seemingly small actions compound over time into irrefutable evidence of your capacity. Greatness isn't born in dramatic moments, but in dedicated practice unseen by others. Your inner voice, that quiet knowing beneath the noise of doubt and distraction, already understands your path. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't demand, it invites. Learning to hear this voice, to trust its guidance, even when it contradicts conventional wisdom, is essential to manifesting your unique greatness. Remember that your greatest contributions won't come from imitating others, but from expressing your authentic self. Your particular combination of strengths, experiences, perspectives, and passions is unrepeatable. The world doesn't need another copy, it needs your original. Greatness isn't measured by comparison to others, but by alignment with your highest potential. The only meaningful question isn't, am I better than them, but am I becoming the fullest expression of myself? This shift in measurement transforms competition into creation, envy into inspiration. Trust the process of becoming. Honor the journey of uncovering. Embrace the discipline of building. Your greatness isn't waiting elsewhere. It's awakening within you now, with every choice that aligns with your deepest truth. The fire that refines every setback carries a message, but most people never stay long enough to hear it. They retreat the moment things get tough, mistaking resistance for rejection. But if you stay in the fire long enough, it will not destroy you, it will define you. Steel is made in flame. Your struggle is not a sign that you're failing, it's a signal that you're becoming. Each failure carves wisdom into your soul, and wisdom is the real wealth. You advance by reflecting, refining, and rising again. You use failure as feedback, not finality. That's how growth is sustained. Benjamin Disraeli, mocked, ignored, even hissed out of Parliament. Yet he returned, refined his message, and eventually became one of Britain's greatest prime ministers. He could have quit after the first humiliation, but he understood, those who endure will rise. Will you? The most profound lessons rarely arrive in comfort. They come wrapped in disappointment, packaged in rejection, delivered through pain. These unwelcome messengers carry wisdom that pleasure cannot provide, if only you have the courage to receive them rather than flee from them. Setbacks speak a language most refuse to learn. They reveal weaknesses that need strengthening, blind spots that require illumination, approaches that demand refinement. When you translate failure from the language of defeat to the dialect of development, all of them changes. Not just your outcomes, but your identity. What appears as obstacle is often opportunity in disguise. The rejection that seems to block your path is actually redirecting you toward a better one. The failure that feels like an ending is merely clearing space for a stronger beginning. But these truths remain invisible until you choose to look beyond immediate disappointment. Most abandon the very experiences designed to transform them. They interpret difficulty as evidence they're on the wrong path, rather than recognition they're being prepared for something greater. This misreading of life's curriculum costs them their most valuable education. Consider how diamonds are formed, not in gentle environments, but under crushing pressure sustained over time. The very forces that seem most destructive are actually creative, producing something of immeasurable worth and unparalleled strength. Your challenges function identically when embraced rather than escaped. The difference between those who merely experience life and those who extract wisdom from it lies in reflection. While many endure hardship, few deliberately mine it for meaning. They suffer without studying, hurt without harvesting the insights embedded within pain. Don't waste your wounds, let them teach you. Your capacity to transform setback into strategy, obstacle into opportunity, and failure into future success isn't innate. It's developed through practice. Each time you choose analysis over avoidance, learning over lamenting, and adjustment over abandonment, you strengthen this vital skill. History's most impactful figures weren't those who avoided failure, but those who metabolized it into fuel for future achievement. Their greatness wasn't born from talent alone, but from tenacity. The willingness to remain standing when others would fall, to learn lessons others would ignore, to try again when logic suggested surrender. The quality of your life isn't determined by the absence of difficulty, but by your response to it. Two people can face identical challenges, yet emerge with entirely different outcomes. One bitter, the other better. One diminished, the other developed. One defeated, the other determined. The difference isn't in what happened to them, but in what they did with what happened. When you reframe failure as education rather than indictment, you transform what could break you into what will build you. This shift in perspective doesn't minimize the pain of disappointment, but it infuses that pain with purpose, converting what seems meaningless suffering into meaningful strengthening. Remember that wisdom isn't transmitted through theories, but through experience. The knowledge that transforms your life won't come primarily from books or lectures, but from lived challenges, processed thoroughly and applied consistently. Your struggles aren't just tests of your character, they're creators of it. So remain in the refining fire. Let it burn away what's non-essential. Let it forge what's fundamental. Let it transform what's potential into what's powerful. Your willingness to endure this process doesn't guarantee comfort, but it promises something far greater: capacity that cannot be granted, only earned. The silent path of greatness. In the quiet corners of ambition, where footsteps echo unheard and hands work unseen, true character reveals itself. When you feel invisible, when your efforts seem to dissolve into the vastness of indifference, that is precisely when you face the ultimate test of your resolve. Most crave applause before they've truly earned it. They hunger for validation as if it were oxygen, withering when it's withheld. But greatness follows a different path. One walked in silence, unmarked by spotlights or fanfare. Not yet, at least. The daily choice you face: to continue when no one is watching, or to surrender to the seductive whisper of why bother. It's painfully easy to abandon your post when the audience has left, when no applause breaks the silence of your efforts. Yet these shadowlands of unwitnessed work are where your true self emerges, taking shape with each choice to persist. Consistency in darkness reveals more about your character than any performance under bright lights ever could. You continue not because someone is keeping score, but because the work itself is transforming you from within. Each day you show up regardless of who notices. You chisel away at the marble of potential, revealing the masterpiece hidden inside. Move through each moment as if the entire world bears witness to your dedication. Act with a certainty that your invisible today creates your inevitable tomorrow. Because eventually eyes will turn your way. The question isn't whether the spotlight will find you, it's whether you'll have something worth seeing when it does. Marie Curie embodied this truth completely. In a modest, poorly ventilated shed that served as her laboratory, she handled dangerous radioactive materials that slowly poisoned her body. Society offered little encouragement. Scientific circles dismissed her as merely her husband's assistant, doubting a woman's capacity for original scientific thought. Yet she persisted through obscurity and skepticism. Her hands, constantly exposed to radium, would glow in the darkness of her bedroom at night, a haunting reminder of her silent sacrifice. But those same hands changed the course of medicine and nuclear physics forever. She didn't await validation before committing herself fully to her work. Her belief in the importance of her research sustained her through years of unrecognized toil. Your situation may look different, but the principle remains unchangeable. The effort you invest when no one applauds plants seeds that will one day break through the surface of indifference. Your persistence, when recognition seems impossible, creates the foundation upon which your future stands. The value of your work doesn't diminish in the absence of witnesses. The quality of your character isn't determined by the number of eyes upon you. Both exist independent of observation, real, consequential, and powerful. Your only task is to last, to endure the silence long enough for your seeds to sprout, to maintain your course through the fog until the landscape reveals itself, to trust that invisibility is temporary but impact is permanent. Will you persevere long enough to witness your own blooming? That question and its answer will determine everything. The battlefield within your mind is your battlefield. And the first enemy is always self-doubt. Left unchecked, it will whisper that you're not enough, not ready, not worthy, but none of that is truth. You were born with gifts, placed on this earth with purpose, and the path to unlocking that purpose is paved with courage, not comfort, courage. In the silent chambers of your thoughts, a war rages daily. It's fought with no witnesses, yet its outcome shapes everything visible about your life. This internal conflict between doubt and belief, between fear and courage, determines who you become far more than any external circumstance ever could. Self-doubt moves like fog through your consciousness, clouding perception and distorting reality. Its whispers sound reasonable, even protective. You should wait until you're more prepared. Someone else would do this better. You'll only embarrass yourself if you try. These thoughts, when entertained, grow from whispers to shouts, drowning out the still, quiet voice of your authentic potential. But doubt's power exists only in your willingness to believe it. Its authority dissolves the moment you recognize it for what it truly is, not wisdom, but fear disguised as reason. You quiet these doubts not through perfect thinking, but through decisive action. Each step forward, however small, dismantles doubt's architecture. Each risk taken builds new neural pathways where courage, not fear, becomes your default response. Belief isn't born fully formed. It's built through repetition. The daily discipline of showing up, especially when motivation wanes, gradually transforms skepticism into certainty. Your identity solidifies not through what you occasionally do, but through what you consistently become. Booker T. Washington, born into slavery with every external reason to accept limitation, the world offered him no encouragement, no advantage, no clear path forward. Yet from these circumstances rose a man who would transform education and lift thousands toward opportunity. His journey began not with favorable conditions, but with an internal decision to believe that his future contained possibilities his past had never suggested. He educated himself in stolen moments after exhausting labor. He walked 500 miles to attend Hampton Institute. Later, he built Tuskegee Institute literally from the ground up, teaching students to make the bricks that would become their classrooms. Washington refused to see himself merely as what history had declared him to be. Instead, he chose to believe in what he might become, and in doing so, he altered not just his own trajectory, but that of American education itself. Can you make the same pivotal choice? Can you believe that your future holds more potential than your past might suggest? This isn't blind optimism, but strategic vision, seeing beyond current limitations to possibilities not yet realized. The doubt will never completely disappear. Even Washington faced moments of uncertainty throughout his remarkable life. But your decision to move forward, despite the doubt, can drown out its debilitating effect. Your commitment to action will speak louder than any anxious thought. Your battlefield isn't found in external circumstances, but in the space between your ears. And victory doesn't require perfect confidence, just the courage to take the next step when doubt suggests retreat. Choose action. Build belief, claim your identity through consistency, and watch as the battlefield of your mind becomes the training ground for your greatest contributions, beyond readiness. If you always wait to feel ready, you'll wait forever. Readiness is not a feeling, it's a decision. You don't need perfect conditions, you need a reason that's stronger than your excuses. The gap between where you stand and where you aspire to be is rarely bridged by preparation alone. The successful move while they're afraid. They act before they feel confident, and confidence follows action, not the other way around. That fluttering in your stomach, the tightness in your chest, these aren't warning signals to retreat. They're confirmation that you're pushing boundaries, stepping into growth territory where comfort cannot follow. The physiological markers of fear and excitement are nearly identical. The difference lies only in your interpretation. You become what you repeatedly dare to do. Each bold step reconfigures your self-image, gradually transforming "I could never" into "I already have." This is how identity shifts, not through contemplation, but through demonstration. Stop negotiating with hesitation and start executing on conviction. Hesitation masquerades as prudence, but delivers only stagnation. It promises safety while stealing opportunity. Wright brothers, bicycle mechanics with no engineering degrees, no institutional backing, no safety net, just vision and unwavering determination. While better funded, more credentialed competitors focused on building powerful engines, Wilbur and Orville solved the crucial problem of control. They risked ridicule, injury, and financial ruin. They crashed repeatedly. They faced skepticism from experts and mockery from the press. But they continued refining, testing, and trying again. Because they moved without the luxury of certainty, they created history at Kitty Hawk on a December morning in 1903. So what's your excuse? Too busy? Not enough resources? Fear of failure? The Wright brothers faced all these obstacles and more. What made them exceptional wasn't freedom from these universal challenges, it was their refusal to be defined by them. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to be willing. Willingness, not perfection or complete readiness, is the prerequisite for meaningful progress. What would happen if you acted right now? Not after another course, not after more research, not when conditions improve, but today, with whatever knowledge and resources you currently possess. The question isn't whether you're ready. The question is whether you're willing. The slow masterpiece. Most people overestimate what can be done in a week and underestimate what can be done in 5 years. They seek quick wins and ignore compound effort. But success is not a spark. It's a slow, steady burn. In a culture obsessed with overnight success, we've forgotten the true architecture of achievement. You build greatness the same way you build muscle. Repetition, strain, recovery, repeat. There are no shortcuts, no magic formulas, only the relentless accumulation of consistent effort. The game is endurance. While others chase the adrenaline of new beginnings, the truly successful embrace the monotony of continuance. You show up daily, not because it's glamorous, but because it's required. When motivation wanes, discipline carries you. When results seem invisible, faith sustains you. And over time, the world notices, not because you demanded attention, but because you earned it through the quiet dignity of persistence. What appears to others as sudden success is merely the visible phase of a process that began long ago in obscurity. James J. Hill. He wasn't a railroad tycoon by birth. He started as a clerk, then a shipping agent, learning the fundamentals of freight and commerce from the ground up. Without wealthy backers or political connections, Hill began assembling what would become the Great Northern Railway. Brick by brick, he built a transcontinental empire. He studied topography to find efficient routes. He personally inspected construction sites. He developed settlements along his tracks to ensure sustainable business, not overnight, but over decades of calculated, patient building. No one clapped in the beginning. His early work attracted little notice and less acclaim, but by the end, the nation moved on his tracks. His Great Northern was the only transcontinental railroad built without government subsidies, and the only one to avoid bankruptcy. Your work today is not small. It's the foundation of a future masterpiece. Today's decent tasks, executed with care and consistency, become tomorrow's empire. The spreadsheet you're analyzing, the prototype you're refining, the content you're creating, these aren't merely tasks to complete, but investments compounding in value. Will you keep laying bricks when no one is watching? Will you continue when progress seems imperceptible? The question isn't whether greatness is possible, it's whether your patience matches your ambition. The final stretch. The temptation to quit becomes strongest right before the reward. That's not a coincidence. It's a test. Life wants to know how badly you want it. When you're in the final stretch, fatigue screams louder, doubts grow sharper, and shortcuts look more appealing. The mind, seeking comfort, presents compelling arguments for surrender. You've come far enough. No one would blame you for stopping. You can always try again later. These whispers, though seductive, are the final guardians before breakthrough. But this is not the time to pull back. It's the time to lock in, to narrow focus and sharpen resolve, to recognize that discomfort signals proximity to your goal, not distance from it. Your momentum is your advantage. Physics teaches that a body in motion tends to stay in motion. The energy required to maintain progress is far less than what's needed to restart from stillness. Even a slow step forward is a strike against failure, a demonstration that obstacles haven't won. The closer you get, the more resistance you face, not because you're weak, but because you're near. This is the universal pattern of achievement. Gold must endure the hottest part of the flame before it's purified. A marathon runner must push through the wall at mile 20. A business faces its most critical challenges not at launch, but at the threshold of breakthrough. Push through, stay alert. Anchor yourself in purpose, not in temporary discomfort or fleeting emotions. Remember why you began this journey and who you're becoming through it. Thomas Paine's words rang out during America's darkest revolutionary winter. These are the times that try men's souls. When desertion rates soared and defeat seemed certain, his words rallied those wavering on the edge of surrender. He knew that only the committed would finish what they started. He didn't quit when the battle turned. He doubled down, and freedom followed. This principle transcends history. It lives in your daily choices. The presentation that intimidates you, the conversation you've been avoiding, the habit you're struggling to build. These are your battlegrounds. This is your final stretch. Don't slow down when everything within you gravitates toward ease. Dig deeper than you thought possible. Find reserves of determination you didn't know you possessed. What awaits beyond resistance isn't merely achievement, it's transformation. You become someone new by finishing what lesser versions of yourself would abandon. The necessary resistance. Nothing meaningful is built without resistance. Resistance isn't your enemy, it's your training partner. The more it pushes, the stronger you get. But most people misinterpret resistance. They think it's a sign to stop. It's not. It's proof you're building something real. The fundamental laws of physical development. Muscles grow only when forced to work against opposition. Without the stress of resistance, there's no adaptation, no improvement, no evolution of capacity. You lift more by pushing against heavier weight. Life works the same way. When obstacles arise, when doors close, when critics emerge, when progress slows, these aren't warnings to retreat. They are invitations to breakthrough. The friction you feel isn't evidence you're on the wrong path. It's confirmation. You're attempting something significant enough to generate opposition. You level up through struggle. Each challenge encountered becomes a catalyst for growth that comfort could never provide. The presentation that makes your heart race, the project that stretches your capabilities, the conversation that requires genuine courage. These moments of resistance are transforming you far more than any period of ease ever could. Stay consistent, and every rep becomes a new version of you. Not overnight, but gradually. Cell by cell, choice by choice. You're reconstructed into someone stronger than before, someone who sees obstacles not as barriers, but as necessary components of meaningful progress. Clara Barton faced relentless resistance when trying to establish the American Red Cross. Government officials dismissed her vision, potential donors questioned its necessity. Even fellow healthcare advocates doubted her approach. For years, she navigated a landscape of rejection, skepticism, and institutional opposition. She was told it wouldn't work, that people wouldn't support her. But resistance sharpened her. It forced her to refine her message, strengthened her resolve, and develop strategic persistence. She learned, adapted, and persisted until the impossible became inevitable. By 1881, what many had deemed impossible became reality. And a century later, her organization continues to save countless lives, so don't fear the friction. Don't resent the resistance. Welcome it. Recognize it as the necessary counterforce to your ambition, the very element that makes achievement meaningful. Without it, success would be hollow, growth would be stunted, and potential would remain dormant. The path of least resistance leads to unremarkable destinations. But the path marked by challenge, embraced rather than avoided, leads to places of genuine impact and lasting significance. It's shaping your next level when the shore is hidden. When you lose motivation, that's not failure, it's feedback. It's a signal to revisit your why, to reconnect with the fire that started your journey. Too often, we confuse lack of emotion with lack of purpose. But emotion fades. Conviction doesn't. The initial excitement of any worthwhile pursuit inevitably diminishes. The new business, the relationship, the fitness commitment, all lose their emotional charge with time and familiarity. This isn't a flaw in your character or evidence that you've chosen the wrong path. It's simply the natural rhythm of sustained effort. You must lead yourself even when you feel nothing. That's the mark of discipline. Anyone can move forward when inspired. The exceptional continue when inspiration has abandoned them. They understand that meaning isn't always accompanied by feeling, that purpose often outlasts passion. You reignite motivation by action, not by waiting. Motivation isn't the prerequisite for movement, it's the product of it. Do one thing, then another. The smallest step forward creates momentum that makes the next step easier, and the next easier still. Movement generates energy that waiting never will. Florence Chadwick swam the English Channel, not once but multiple times. Her name became synonymous with endurance and determination, but in 1952, attempting to swim from Catalina Island to the California coast, she stopped just before the end because fog blocked her vision. She couldn't see the shore. Later she realized she had been only a mile away, less than an hour's swim from triumph. The next time, she employed a different strategy. Without the guarantee of clear conditions, she pictured the shore in her mind, visualizing it with such clarity that physical visibility became secondary. She held the destination within her when she couldn't see it without, and she finished strong, setting a new record. Your shore may be hidden now. The fog of fatigue, doubt, or temporary setbacks may obscure your progress and destination, but it's there. The fact that you can't currently feel your purpose doesn't diminish its reality or importance. Hold the image. Keep swimming. Continue moving forward, not because you constantly feel motivated, but because you remain thoroughly convinced. Let conviction carry you when emotion cannot. Trust that the shore exists even when obscured, and that each stroke, however small or seemingly insignificant, brings you closer to it. The voice within. The words you speak to yourself in the quiet moments determine your future. Your self-talk is a script you live by. If it's filled with doubt, you'll hesitate. If it's filled with belief, you'll act boldly. In the privacy of your mind, a constant narrative unfolds, one that shapes your decisions, colors your perceptions, and ultimately creates the boundaries of your possible. These internal conversations aren't merely reflections of reality. They're architects of it. The language you use with yourself isn't just descriptive, it's prescriptive. You must become your own coach, your inner advocate. The world provides enough critics. Don't amplify them in your own mind. Replace I can't with I will figure it out. Shift from I'm not ready to I'm preparing. These aren't semantic games. They're fundamental redirections of mental energy that transform obstacles into opportunities. Your words have power. Use them wisely. When you tell yourself this is impossible, you've already decided the outcome. When you instead ask, how might this be possible? You engage your creativity rather than your limitations. The questions you ask yourself determine the answers you find. William Wilberforce fought the British slave trade against overwhelming odds. For decades, he introduced abolition bills in Parliament that were repeatedly defeated. He was mocked by opponents, resisted by powerful economic interests, and nearly broken by the glacial pace of progress. But he spoke vision into his heart. Year after year, I am not born for a little corner, he reminded himself, a declaration that his purpose extended beyond comfort, beyond acceptance, beyond what seemed immediately achievable. That belief fueled decades of unrelenting effort. After 20 years of defeats, his Slave Trade Act passed in 1807. By the time of his death in 1833, he had witnessed the complete abolition of slavery throughout the British Empire. Your internal dialogue must become your armor. Guard it fiercely against the infiltration of limiting beliefs, comparative thinking, and borrowed doubts. Sharpen it through intentional practice, replacing habitual negativity with strategic conviction. The battle for your future begins in the battleground of your mind. Each thought, each word you speak to yourself is either fortifying your resolve or undermining it. There is no neutral language in this inner conversation. Only words that expand or contract your possibilities. Speak the future you want into existence, not with magical thinking, but with the understanding that belief precedes achievement, that vision directs action, and that the voice within shapes the life without. The decisive moment. Every great transformation starts with a decision. Not a plan, not a perfect moment, just a decision, a line in the sand, a refusal to stay the same. That decision is your turning point. From there, the path unfolds. Most lives remain unchanged, not because of inability, but indecision. We circle possibilities, weighing pros and cons endlessly, mistaking contemplation for progress. Meanwhile, the truly transformed have often made simpler, cleaner breaks with the past. Decisions that cut through confusion and create momentum where there was once only hesitation. You don't need clarity for the next 10 steps, only courage for the next one. The landscape beyond your comfort zone reveals itself not to the cautious planner, but to the committed explorer. Each step forward illuminates territory invisible from where you previously stood. Don't wait to feel qualified. Decide to become qualified. Don't wait for permission. Give yourself the green light. Authority is rarely granted. It's claimed through decisive action and consistent follow-through. The difference between those who achieve and those who merely aspire often lies not in talent or opportunity, but in the willingness to begin before feeling ready. Milton Hershey failed with 3 candy businesses before building his empire. His first venture in Philadelphia collapsed after 6 years. His attempt in Chicago dissolved even faster. In New York, another defeat awaited. Each failure drained his resources and credibility. Yet he decided, again and again, not to stop. After his third failure, creditors and family urged him to pursue a more practical path. Instead, he made the decision that would define his legacy, to start the Lancaster Caramel Company, which became the launching pad for Hershey's chocolate. That decision changed the sweetness of the world and transformed a man's repeated failures into an enduring empire. What decision are you delaying? What clarity are you demanding that only action can provide? What permission are you waiting for that only you can grant? Make it now. Let it shape the next chapter. The moment of decision carries a power that planning can never match. Plans without decisions remain fantasies. Decisions without perfect plans become reality. Boldness unlocks the doors fear tries to shut. Decide who you are, not who you might become someday, but who you are choosing to be today. Then prove it daily through consistent action that aligns with that decision. Let your identity drive your behavior rather than waiting for behavior to someday validate your identity. Your transformation begins not when conditions are ideal, but when your decision becomes final. Don't let this moment slip away. Decide right now that you will fight, even when every part of you wants to flee. Choose grit. Choose fire. Choose to endure until the victory is yours. This is your turning point. Claim it. Don't delay. Your future is waiting for your courage.